Um, he did. They called him Little Rooster.
And did they call him anything else?
Well, I mean, he'd been called Little Rooster, had been called, as you heard, Paw Paw. I mean, that's what my family, my kids called him.
What did you call him?
Well, it depends on where we were and what we were doing. When we were, when we were doing something fun in a social event, I would refer to him as Paw Paw. Now, y'all haven't heard this yet, but he worked for me. So when he worked for me, it was Paul, or it was Paul Terry.
During Alex's trial, Mandy Matney tweeted, "We're hearing a series of text messages that Paul Murdaugh sent in the last hour of his life. It's tragic. He's texting a girl about going to a movie. She said that she doesn't want to watch a sad movie. No, I need something happy," she said. These texts really humanize Paul, who was a very complicated young man. My opinions of Paul have changed in the last 2 years. Now I see him as the son of a narcissist whose parents fueled with alcohol instead of getting him help and correcting his behavior. Hello, True Crime Stories family. Welcome back. Alex Murdaugh said that his son Paul's worst qualities were due to his ADHD. Paul was irresponsible and scatterbrained, jumping from one thing to the next. Paul left his clothes and guns at his friends' and family houses all around the state. Paul's ADHD really bothered Alex, although he also said that his son was the brightest, most inquisitive young man. He wanted to be part of everything. He was a man's man and a country boy. He liked to hunt anything, catch any fish, and run equipment. Alex described Paul as both tough and sweet. Paul wouldn't come home or go near Somerville without going out of his way to visit his grandparents.
He had such a kind side to him. He was always wanting to help. You know, Aunt Marion, does Uncle Bart need some wood? He'd bring us a load of wood. He was a kind soul, and I loved him a lot.
Paul's life was cut short, and if he got the proper help, it's a chance he could have become a better person. Paul did favors for his family, and people close to his family. He wasn't lazy. He had a lot of energy. Anytime his family had problems with hogs tearing up their farms, they called Paul to come over and get rid of the hogs. Paul had a good work ethic. When Paul worked with his Uncle John Marvin, he did whatever he asked him to do. Listen to Paul's Uncle John Marvin talk about his work ethics.
You know, that's, I thought you were going to ask that, and unfortunately I don't know. He's worked for me maybe prior to June of 21. He was working then. I think he worked the 2 summers prior to that. And it was just summer work. I mean, it would only last a month or so, a month and a half.
And was he working for you in June of 2021?
He was.
And what was he doing for you?
Anything I asked him to do.
Where was he working?
He was working at my Bluffton Oakety store. He would do anything from power wash equipment or deliver new tractors that were being sold, talk to customers, help customers load and unload rental equipment. He did, as you heard someone testify, that boy would work. And so whatever was asked of him, he would do.
Paul loved Moselle. Maggie's sister Marion Proctor said that she always believed that Paul would take over Moselle one day. Paul also loved his guns that he left everywhere.
There's been some discussion during this case during this trial about Paul leaving guns and stuff around. Did you ever experience that?
I did.
And tell the jury a little bit about your experience.
Well, I've heard the testimony about it, and it's accurate. I mean, I could tell you all 100 stories of him leaving things, but he was notorious. He would come stay with us at our house. He would leave. Liz would have all of his clothes washed, and he just left and didn't care about where his clothes were. In fact, Paul came duck hunting with me one time, and at Greenfield. And I smile fondly on this when I, think back on all this. So we had a great duck hunt. I think there were 3 of us in the blind. Great duck hunt. We picked up all the birds, decoys, and we left, and we go back up and have a nice breakfast. Doing all the post hunt, all the fun things that you do. Well, I went back hunting. I don't know. It was probably a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks later. and his hunting gear is still in the blind. I mean, I had to smile when I saw it. I was like, that's Paul.
Right.
People that knew Paul said he loved hunting because it was like therapy for him. Hunting helped him release his stress. According to John Marvin, Alex, Paul, and Buster had a great relationship. They used to all hunt together on John Marvin's field.
Do you have a name for that property?
We call it Greenfield.
And would Paul and Buster come out to Greenfield to hunt?
They would.
Would they?
Absolutely.
Let me just back up. What was the relationship between Alec, Paul, and Buster?
Oh, it was a great relationship. You know, anything that the boys were doing, Alec wanted to do, and the boys always came first to him. Some of y'all may have been on dove hunts before, but we would have I have a very small field, and you know, I've got 10 stands in the field, and I have, before the hunt, I have it organized where I know who's sitting where. Well, I have Alec. He says, well, can the boys come? Well, of course they can come. So now I've got to rearrange for that. Or if they said they were coming and the boys backed out, Alec always backed out. I was thinking about this. To this day, I don't believe he has ever come hunting with me since his boys have been old enough to hunt without his boys. It's always with the boys.
Did you know that Alex stole money from his close friend Barrett Bulware, who was a known drug smuggler? Barrett Bulware was in the hospital dying from colon cancer when Alex stole 2 insurance checks. At the time, Barrett's wife needed the money to stay in a hotel that was closer to the hospital that he was staying in. There was a fire at a property that Alex and Barrett both owned. Alex filed an insurance claim for the property after the fire for damages. Alex got 2 checks from the insurance company, one check for $75,000 and another check for $279,000. He didn't tell Barrett or his wife. Alex pocketed the money and moved on. The partners at Alex's law firm complained about Alex not following the rules. He did whatever he wanted, and he used the law firm's credit card like it was his own personal credit card. He took advantage of the law firm. The law firm found out that he even paid one of his son's tuition by charging it to the law firm's credit card. Some of the private flights he used to go on vacations, he also charged to the law firm's credit card, but he laughed at Buster economy seats on Spirit Airlines.
How was that?
It was better than I expected it to be.
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, I thought, you